Hello everybody and welcome back to this week's episode of Crystals with Kate. Our crystal this week that we will be talking about is Sodalite. Sodalite is a crystal that I have not spent a whole lot of time learning about, and it was one on my personal list that I was intrigued about. So I decided to go ahead and dig into it for the podcast. So as always, we'll go ahead and start with its geological properties. This one has a very complicated chemical composition. So it does have some aluminum, some silicone, some oxygen, and some chloride. So it is still a type of silicone oxide, but it's not quite the same composition that we would see with quartz, which makes sense because its hardness is around a 5.5 to a 6 compared to more of your quartz-based minerals, which are closer to a 7 on Mohs scale of hardness. It's often confused with lapis lazuli. Lapis lazuli is a darker blue, and it doesn't tend to have that white pigmentation in it that Sodalite does. That's the way I often tell them apart. I also think that the color of blue in Sodalite is just a little bit lighter of a blue most of the time. And then it is also mined in a variety of places, whereas lapis lazuli is a little bit more concentrated in where it can be found. Sodalite can be found in Canada, Brazil, Bolivia, and Myanmar, which is in Africa. All right, let's chat a little bit about history for Sodalite. It is a newer crystal in comparison. Information, for example, that we have on things like quartz and amethyst, and some of the other things we have covered are brought up in ancient Egyptian societies and Sumerian culture. We don't see that with Sodalite, so its properties are more recently being explored. It's not necessarily being found in ancient and medieval lapidary texts, so a lapidary text is going to be the things that mention what was found in the mine, and we don't really see it there. However, we do see some mild archaeological evidence that shows it was highly valued in South America, but it was a very short pocket in time. These areas are probably going to be between Brazil and Bolivia because that is where it can currently be mined. Two examples of these, and I know I'm going to butcher it, but I am going to try, is the Corral civilization, which was about 2600 to 2000 BCE. And we do know in their records that they were trading for Sodalite, so they wanted to bring Sodalite in, and we found fragments of it in archaeological sites here. The next one is the Tiwanaku civilization, which is right there outside of modern-day Bolivia, and they existed from about 1500 BCE to 1000 Common Era, or Common Time. And they were also trading for Sodalite, and they were creating it into decorations, and they were using it as like a bead in jewelry. So it's not necessarily being described in our text, but it does still have a very brief history. The first time it was actually described was in 1811 after a deposit was found in the Ilimasuk intrusive complex. I know I butchered that again. I'm sorry, guys. And that's in southwest Greenland. Because it does look like lapis lazuli and it is found a little bit more widely, it is also slowly started to be called poor man's lapis. I prefer Sodalite, just me. So that is a little bit of background on it. We are going to break right here for a brief ad. Let's also take a moment here to chat about some ways that you guys can support the show. So there have been a lot of changes for my crystal shop. I have decided to fully be on Etsy now. So I am fully uploaded all of my inventory to Etsy, and I will put that in my link below. I no longer have my GoDaddy sites up and running. I was just not getting the same level of traffic there anymore that I was able to pull on Etsy. I think a lot of that is that when you want to buy things, it's more common to go to Etsy than to necessarily try to remember somebody's website, which is not a big deal. So I have officially closed my GoDaddy sites, so I will make sure you guys have my Etsy link below. You can also listen along here, and there are donation options through Anchor and Spotify if that is where you are listening. If not, if you go to my Linktree, there is the option to support the show through tips and donations. You may also support me through my Etsy shop, which is all crystals. I will be adding some new items soon. I have recently found that I like to crochet, so I will be adding little crocheted crystal bags to it, and I will have small ones and larger ones. More info to come. And then my Amazon storefront link is also going to be in my Linktree, which you will find below, and that has everything from spiritual things that I love. There's some Christmas list in there, Could use them for a birthday upcoming, and my three books actually that I have now published are all also on there as well. And then the last way that you could support the show is by joining our Patreon. Each layer of the Patreon has different perks. Some of them come with monthly crystal boxes, and some of them you just get this podcast without ads. My cheapest one, I believe, starts at $4.44 a month, and if you're interested, that link will be below as well. All right, back to the show. Alrighty, welcome back. So, we are going to go ahead and dive into all of the healing properties of Sodalite, which I am sure is why most of you are here. So, first let's talk about spiritual healing. So, spiritually, it is known for grounding properties, specifically in terms of helping with meditation. So, you have to be in a comfortable mind space to meditate. You got to have a clear head. Sodalite is an excellent crystal for meditation and for grounding to get you into a place where you can be in a meditative state. It's specifically known for helping you focus on that third eye chakra. So if you are interested in working with your third eye or opening it and working through some of the things that may be blocking that, Sodalite may be a good crystal here. It also helps to kind of see where your path lies. So with it being with your third eye, a lot of the things that I associate with your third eye chakra is going to be kind of like seeing beyond just yourself. And I think that relates to, seeing where you are in terms of the world later in life, seeing that long-term path and like where you fit into the world. It's also known to help with encouraging truth and spiritual growth. So if you're trying to grow spiritually, this might be a good crystal for you. All right, let's chat about our metaphysical properties. So it is known to increase your wisdom and insight, and I think that goes a lot with you're going to be meditating. It is also known to support clairvoyance and development of your clair properties. So I think that's going to help with your wisdom and your insight there. It also helps you to communicate your feelings a little bit better. It can be hard to talk about feelings, and a lot of times, at least for me, when I struggle, it's because I get flustered. This is going to take a lot of that flustered feeling away and allow you to more easily express your feelings. It also helps to ease your oversensitivity, your feelings of confusion and inadequacy, this like fear that you have in like social and emotional situations, which I think that coupled with all of the other properties we've thus discussed for Sodalite make it that much easier to again be able to communicate your feelings. Because if you're not feeling super sensitive and super confused or inadequate or scared, you're gonna be able to express yourself a little bit better. It is also known for helping with improving your listening and speaking skills, specifically in terms of organizing them. So sometimes when you get flustered or you are kind of feeling on the spot or like you struggle with your mental health, maybe like it's really, really hard to organize your thoughts to be able to communicate them with somebody. And sometimes it's also very hard to understand somebody else's thought and organize their own thoughts as you're listening to them. Again, it can help with that. So those are your metaphysical properties of Sodalite. The last set of properties are going to be your physical and emotional properties that we're going to talk about today. It has known to boost your immune system. So it is the dead of winter. Everybody is getting sick. This is an excellent crystal for that. It's also known to help balance your metabolism, and I had not heard that before, so I'm pretty intrigued. It also is said to help with easing your water retention. So if you're somebody that bloats really easily, this might be a good crystal to carry with you. And then that also goes along with reduction of inflammation and muscle strain. So if you are not retaining as much water, you're not going to be as swollen and your muscles aren't going to feel like they are working so hard. In terms of your emotional properties, you have balancing your emotions, so especially those rampant ones. So your emotions that can kind of just swing and they just go for it, especially if you have mood swings or you have, depressive episodes that can get very sad very quickly. This might help to even those out. It is also known for helping to ease your panic attacks. And then again, it helps you stand up for your own feelings. And I think that ties back into all of those metaphysical and emotional properties that we have already discussed. All right, the last set, as always, is going to be all about correspondences. So the first correspondence that we have is the throat chakra, which I think is pretty interesting because a lot of it talked about in association with your third eye, but it is also associated with your throat chakra. So if you want one that's going to help with more than one that you may be trying to work through, this seems like a good one. In terms of your zodiac, it is going to be most associated with a Sagittarius. Again, this does not mean it won't help you if you're not a Sag. It just means that if you have a Sagittarius placement in your top 3, it may be something that you vibe with a little bit better than maybe other crystals that can help with like your third eye and your throat chakra and emotions that may be better associated with a different crystal. Your planetary association is my girl Venus. We love her. And then your element association is going to be air. So it is a very light and free crystal. And lastly, we have that numerological association, which here is going to be the number 4. So for number 4, it is all about things like consistency, discipline, stability. It is associated, I believe it's the Emperor. It is. It's the Emperor in tarot cards, which that is all of what he is about in terms of tarot, and specifically like world authority and power and ruling. So for the numerological association here, you see a lot of discipline and stability, and it's really about that like head down approach to life. So head down, really focused on yourself and, putting yourself in the best situation. So that is our episode for this week on Sodalite. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I will see you guys next week for another episode.